Let me start off with your upgrade of the industry to inline. You say you've updated your price targets, and you as well are talking about liquidity balances and things of that nature. Why are you feeling more positive, I guess, on this industry at this point?
Thanks, David. Well, first, I want to offer my thoughts and prayers to everybody, including the CNBC community, which I know has been impacted. So just wanted to get that out there. Thanks for fighting through this. So, look, we stress tested our balance sheets. Auto company balance sheets are incredible. They have doomsday balance sheets run by treasurers that were there in 08 and 09. We're all there. There's austerity. I mean, look, GM just drew fully $16 billion on its revolver, and the stock's up 10%. That doesn't necessarily have to call a bottom, but it tells you something. And then we're also looking ahead to the stimulus, the unprecedented stimulus actions, which we're seeing kind of moving day to day, whether it's to markets, stabilized credit markets, and then direct to the consumer. But the key here is if you can survive the next 3 months, if you're an auto company, survive the next 3 months, and we think basically they all got what it takes to do that, you're going to sell a boatload of cars later this year, and your stocks don't just recover, they multiply. So we're not moving to attractive yet at the sector at this point because of the fluidity of the situation. But clearing out the sentiment where people are asking recession or depression, that's a sign of it's time to do the work and pick your spots.
All right. So your point is basically if you can avoid significant shareholder dilution or business impairment, there's going to be life on the other side. A lot of people think that. Investors certainly do as well. But you mentioned depression. It's not completely clear at all right now, Adam, whether we're going to be able to avoid a downturn in employment, the likes of which we've never seen. And it's unclear how long that will last.
Nobody knows. And this is why we're kind of reminded about, this is a war-like environment. FDR called it the arsenal of democracy. Back in World War II, the Ford Motor Company created the Willow Run plant to build the B-24 Liberator bombers. Chrysler built tanks and rockets and planes, and General Motors put every division on this thing, right? The arsenal of democracy. And in some ways, we're in a similar situation. You got Tesla, Ford, and GM all making respirators with medical partners right now. Again, maybe Jim Cramer, you weigh in here, but and I'm not calling this, but you got to ask the question. Investors might be asking, can you bankrupt a company that is making ventilators in an emergency crisis? I mean, anything's possible, but you see the level of austerity and unprecedented action that's happening, and we take all that into account. Even though you're right, no one can call a bottom at this point. You just play the sensibility and the stress testing of our balance sheets, which we've done at Morgan Stanley.
Well, that's true, and I know there was interesting discussion at the beginning when FDR asked Ford to play the role, and Ford at that point was a little too close to the axis. But then Ford came around, so we don't want to get in a situation. Remember, GM agreed that day. Let's talk about the irony of this era, Adam. There's one company that you have said has a strong enough balance sheet to be able to do what's necessary. It is not Ford Motor. It is Tesla. Can you explain the irony and the fact that Elon Musk delivered 1,000 ventilators yesterday, and that if you had to bring in someone who can create a lot of ventilators, it's going to be Musk?
Well, not only does he have that kind of creativity and of all of Musk's skills, and he has many, he ain't perfect, but he's got a lot of skills. His ability to rouse public support and to kind of be this ambassador of public-private partnership and work across the stack, if you will, is pretty incredible. You call it irony. I think it's duty. It is a duty, Jim. My companies are in survival mode. Yes, Tesla has a balance sheet that on paper can survive 6 months of a shutdown. But in practice, Jim, if we shut the economy down for that long, we all know the narrative is very dark at that point. So they're doing everything they can. Everything that it takes approach, such that if there is, and we hope we avoid this, but if there is a moment where auto companies, including Tesla, need to go to Washington and say, hey, were too important to fail, they need to show that they did everything they could. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, it does, Adam. Finally, I do want to end on kind of what Jim implied, which is the Ford Motor Company, the one company, of course, that did not seek government assistance, that did not go bankrupt, at least, I should say, during the financial crisis. Can Ford survive this?
Yes. Period. Yes, they can survive this. They survived 08, 09. They can survive this. Ford has had its execution issues. That's no secret. Your program's talked about it heading into this. But between the over $30 billion of liquidity in the industrial operations, the $30-odd billion of liquidity untapped and within its FinCo, a Treasury and financial team that was born in the 08, 09 downturn, to me, the signal was when that family when the board decided to suspend the dividend, I just put my hands in the air and said, that's it. They're all in. It's all about survival. William Clay Ford, the chairman of Ford, Bill Ford, the great-grandson of Henry Ford, does not want his name on, he's still a young man, he's in his early 60s. He will do whatever it takes for Ford to survive. And so, yeah, that's the stand. Doesn't mean Ford can't go from 4 to 2 along the way. This is fluid. But if they get through this, we're going to sell a lot of cars. And maybe another time we'll be talking about cash for clunkers on your program too, because if we only recovered a 12 million SAR, take a look. You saw what happened in 09, right, Jim? That the cash for clunkers was so popular, it ran out in about 6 weeks. We took SAR from 8 million to 14 in a straight line.